Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in. My name is Bas Kamphuis. I lead the business alliance between SAP and AWS from an AWS point of view. And I'll be joined here with Stephen Jones, my counterpart that owns all the technical and portfolio innovation that we're driving together with SAP. Delighted to talk to you guys today. Obviously, the last couple of years have been very impactful as we see the hyperscale cloud become a very viable and often preferred deployment option for mission-critical SAP workloads. So what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about what AWS is, as well as what it specifically provides SAP customers. Not just in the journey towards HANA, but also the traditional databases, which is often a workload that's presented, and what can you expect next, right? So let's start talking a little bit about what Amazon is. What do you know Amazon for, right? And Amazon.com has been a phenomenally successful company, partly because of its unprecedented scale. If you look at the distribution network that it has established, the warehouses and the distribution centers that supply it, it's obviously unique in the market. And then what's the true north of the Amazon experience, and it will continue to be a strategic differentiator, I think, is the time it takes between a customer requesting or ordering a product and actually receiving it. So everything is about reducing that time in hyperspeed. Now, what Amazon is also known for is the relentless drive of innovation, right? Everybody is probably familiar with the drones, Alexa, not to talk about the Kindle, the Fire tablets, and everything that's come out. And obviously a very interesting space to see our company continue to release brand new solutions into the market. And then at the center of it all is a true customer obsession. That is our true north in everything we do. That is there for AWS, but that's certainly there for Amazon.com too. And so what this slide portrays is the continued price decreases that we've actually passed along to customers far outstrips any of the other brick and mortar retailers that are out there. Now, if you apply those same principles to web services, infrastructure, if you will, you get the same pillars that actually drive what we do in the marketplace. So for one thing, AWS provides unprecedented skills in terms of the 16 regions and the additional regions that we actually announced that is coming our way, as well as the hyperspeed, right? You think about hundreds of servers being available within minutes, or even in very complex solutions like the HANA workload, the speed in which we're able to provision these environments is unique, and we'll talk more about that. Now, at the same time, that relentless innovation is articulated in the number of net new services and features our company introduces each year. And it's increasing dramatically year after year after year, partly because we're also innovating on top of our platform, partly obviously because customers are providing more and more insights and feedbacks as to what they want to see. And that then comes back to the customer obsessions. We currently have introduced 60 consecutive price decreases for customers that are running on our platform without any competitive pressure to do so. But we believe that's the right thing to do as we scale this business. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about our partnership with SAP and where we've been here on the left-hand side. So Steve, would you like to talk a little bit about the innovation journey here?
You bet, Boss. So let me back up just a little bit. If we start way back at the beginning, SAP had been a customer of ours starting in 2008. And really, we were the first on-demand cloud platform certified by SAP, but it took a lot to get there, right? There was a lot of learning together with SAP along the way, and what it really took to what it takes to support mission critical workloads. And And you can see here in the graph, in the early years, we focused on optimization of our platform and certification for large-scale deployments. And customers were often starting with non-mission critical applications like business objects or all-in-one or things of this nature, training environments. You can see that over time, as we gained more and more certifications for these mission critical workloads, and we transitioned ourselves based on customer feedback to supporting early HANA workloads. Again, breaking new ground with SAP for hyperscale deployments on 2-socket platforms. And then we transitioned to really working together on building purpose-built hardware that is optimized for HANA with strong collaboration as well around programs and services. Now, you can see another transition where we're helping work together with things like HANA Enterprise Cloud on AWS, the SAP Cloud Platform, and FAST, which Boz will talk here a little bit about later. But the customer velocity has also followed a very similar trajectory, with early customers again adopting AWS for early training and POC type environments. But now the new normal really is that large enterprises are moving very large estates to AWS. Boz, would you care to share some of the customer examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and there's actually a video on the BP case, and several of these customers are explaining what they did. But for example, BP in record time migrated their loops business from their on-premise deployments to ASC on AWS, and since then has moved over their BW the BW environments to run on HANA on AWS at scale. And is currently executing on a full migration for everything they do around SAP to the hyperscale cloud. So we're working very closely with them and ensuring that they are experiencing that benefit. Camso, as another example, is a Canadian customer of ours running a $1 billion manufacturing operation. They actually migrated to Suite on HANA in a matter of 3 months on AWS. And Fairfax Media in the bottom has actually been a long believer in AWS infrastructure for their SAP workloads. But as their company grew, as an example, their need for larger SAP solutions on AWS grew as well. And at some point in time, they moved over from their half terabyte AWS or BW on SAP system to BW for HANA on a 1 terabyte platform, and since then have continued to grow. But they did that in a matter of an hour, right? It's basically failover. And we'll do a little bit more talking about the technical foundation and the architecture that enables that. But yeah, we see a lot of customers do that. But probably best, Steve, to actually talk a little bit more or show the audience what customers are experiencing directly.
Zappos has a culture of innovation and being agile, and things change all the time.
AWS allows for better agility and flexibility when it comes to planning. Not a lot of upfront planning that has to be done. And if you get it wrong, it's okay. You just have to resize and you're on your way.
AWS has been instrumental in the success of HANA. HANA is a powerful database, and with a powerful database, you need powerful machines.
We recently released an instance type called X1. It's a high-memory platform based on the Intel E7 processor Xeon series. It's highly performant, purpose-built, and optimized for SAP HANA workloads.
They knew that we were migrating to HANA, so they asked us if they could use our systems to test this migration tool that they had, that they could migrate customers in a weekend.
The idea with this particular program is to deliver a system migrated from on-premise to AWS and upgraded to HANA in about a 48-hour time frame, right? So working with Zappos, we were able to work through a lot of prerequisites and get the migration down to about 29 hours.
We have moved our entire SAP landscape. Everything is running on the cloud in AWS right now.
It's safe to say plans always change, right? Whether it's system sizing or, in the case of Zappos, database choice. The interesting thing was they actually decided to move to HANA at a kind of a late stage, and that changed the actual type of system they needed to deploy on. Since at AWS we have a large number of instances that are certified to run SAP workloads, they're actually able to just make a different selection and move on without actually really thinking about what that meant from a hardware procurement perspective.
Working with AWS definitely makes life easier for our systems teams. If you think about the olden days when you needed a server and you have to go and procure it, then you have to go to the cage to set it up, and there's a lot of manual labor and time involved. With AWS and using Quick Start, within minutes you can spin up any size server you want and you can bring it down whenever you want. So very little time and less money involved.
We build tooling like Fast and like Quick Start to allow customers to, again, rapidly adopt not just our platform, but actually really transform their own businesses without a lot of the heavy lifting that traditionally goes into that.
Our technical team was skilled up in AWS very quickly. It's a very easy platform to work with, and there's been no delays because of people not knowing how to work with AWS. And also, if you need help, the AWS guys are there at any time.
The X1 platform today supports up to 2 terabytes of RAM and scale-up deployments, things like S4HANA, Suite on HANA like Zappos has done, and up to 14 terabytes with scale-out deployments. So this is just the beginning. We're making additional investments, and there's many, many exciting things to come.
Zappos has a culture of innovation, and AWS allows us to innovate at lightning speeds.
So super interesting. Obviously, it was a very rapid but also very successful migration that we did together with Saul and the Zappos team. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. So let's talk a little bit more about the strategy, where we're going there. So as Steve introduced, initial focus was obviously infrastructure as a service, and we continue to expand there. But as you look at what customers are doing today, there's basically, when you think about infrastructure as a service, 2 groups there. One of it is the replatforming. We often refer to that as lift and shifts. For that, AWS provides the broadest portfolio of databases supported. And I think a majority of customers have started here over the past years. We currently see that shifting a bit. The HANA becomes a bigger component, but we still see a lot of customers that recognize the benefits of the flexibility and the agility and, if nothing else, the cost savings that come with actually running infrastructure as a service to serve these mission critical workloads and not necessarily affecting the application layer or the user interface, right? Same version that you currently runs on-prem can run highly secure and highly scalable on AWS. The second element of that is the digital transformation issue. Well, obviously, SAP has driven an enormous amount of transformation and innovation into the platform, both at the analytics as well as at the business application level. So Suite on HANA, S4HANA, BW on HANA, and BW for HANA all run at scale on AWS. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we currently have available and what's coming down the pike. Now, one of the announcements that we're very proud of is that also SAP's own HANA Enterprise Cloud is supported now on AWS and is deploying based on what the customer wants to do on AWS. And we're the first hyperscale provider to actually achieve that. Can get all the benefits of the hyperscale cloud plus the mission critical and best-in-class services that AWS provides in caring for these environments. And we believe that drives significant customer value. Now, then when you start thinking beyond that, there's obviously in the green and the purple 2 areas that are becoming more and more relevant, especially as software as a service becomes a reality. So on the green hand side is your platform as a service. We announced at Sapphire that SAP's cloud platform, SAP, now runs on AWS and is generally available for customers to deploy on. That basically opens up the full portfolio of the 90 plus services that AWS provides. So now you start to really extend into an Internet of Things scenario, leveraging your big data lake that might be running on AWS on a Hadoop distribution and actually leverage that data back into a decision that reflects itself in your ECC system or your suite system. Machine learning, the natural language interface that Alexa and Alexa are providing are becoming part of the options, and obviously the analytics platform. And if you flip the circle, then go to the SaaS platforms, more and more of these SaaS platforms are either enabled on AWS or are able to integrate in full and securely with AWS. So you see customers starting to merge the information that they maintain and the reporting that comes out of Concur as an exercise back inside their suite applications. And with all of it, we obviously recognize that there is skills required. Some customers do this transformation or this replatforming all by themselves, but the partner ecosystem, by and large, is signing up, is training their staff, is actually helping customers be successful in these transformations. So you probably saw the Deloitte announcements where Deloitte is all in with AWS. We have the same with Capgemini and Accenture. And then a lot of technology partners that further extend and operate it. So that's our strategy. We believe that serves our customers best as they make this transformation to the hyperscale cloud. And welcome to your feedback. Now, Steve, talk a little bit about what we just announced at Sapphire from a platform perspective.
Yeah, you bet. So if we back up just a bit, back to actually 2014, this was early years for HANA, especially in the cloud. And as I mentioned previously, we were working really closely with SAP to try some new deployment methodologies back then. And we really worked with them to support the first 2 socket-based configurations for smaller deployment sizes. And we were hearing from customers that they want to take advantage of the hyperscale platform for HANA deployments, but there just weren't options available. So we worked again closely with SAP to make that available. And the immediate feedback from customers was, the performance is great, the price performance is great, and really, then we were hearing we need more memory, right? As HANA capabilities increased, and additional SAP applications like Business Suite and S4 coming along that required much more memory, our needs to define additional platforms for the HANA workload became increasing, right? So we started nearly a 2-year journey to build, again, a custom-built hardware platform for deploying HANA at hyperscale. And we really didn't want to repeat what had been done before. And so we took our time, we gathered customer requirements, and in 2016 at Sapphire, we released the X1 platform to be, with the ability to provision this in minutes, as Boz indicated earlier, both 2 terabyte and 1 terabyte versions, and also supporting very large scale-out deployments up to 14 terabytes at that time. And again, feedback from customers indicated, this is awesome. But we need larger and larger machines. And so this past Sapphire, 2017, in a very rapid release cycle, we again announced a 4 terabyte platform, which will be available later this summer, supporting up to 4 terabytes of RAM. Again, something that is purpose built for these mission critical workloads and is fully virtualized and all the good benefits that customers have come to expect from our cloud, our AWS platform with regards to very fast provisioning times and on-demand pricing, things of that nature are attributes this new 4 terabyte instance also carries. Additionally, we also announced support for massive scale-out clusters up to 34 terabytes of RAM, again in an on-demand fashion with no long-term commitments, but with the ability to actually spin up specific sizes, again using Quick Start, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. And we also announced at Sapphire additional hardware platforms that will be coming in 2018 to support even more RAM than the X1E platform of 4 terabytes. But more on that in just a bit here. So let's talk just a little bit briefly. I know there's probably some questions on which modules are supported for SAP and which instance types within AWS are supported for SAP workloads. And we get that customers are expecting certification of specific products and solutions from SAP, and so we've worked really closely with them to ensure that all SAP products are supported on our platform. And in essence, today, if you have any workload that is based on NetWeaver 7.0 or higher, this is certified and supported on the AWS platform. We've also done a lot of benchmarking in concert with SAP to ensure that, again, mission-critical applications like SAP can run well and run in an optimized way on our platform. And what you see here are a breakdown of general instance types. So on the top left quadrant, we have our general purpose instance type, which has a balanced amount of CPU and memory, with the accompanying SAPS ratings for those of you who speak SAPS. We have on the bottom left our compute optimized instance type. Typically, these are instance types that are used for the application server tier. Again, they're optimized both performance and price perspective from a CPU perspective. And then on the right, we have our memory optimized platform, which includes the R instance families as well as the X instance families, again, which are optimized on a memory perspective, both from a pricing and performance perspective as well. Now, what you see listed here are SAP's ratings for individual single system deployments, but SAP and we support very large distributed SAP deployments ranging in the hundreds of thousands of SAPs today. And we see customers deploying very large scale deployments on our platform. If you've got any questions on, again, which instance types are supported or which SAP applications are supported, you can see this SAP note here, 1656099, for additional information. And with that, let's talk a little bit about a longer-term commitment as it relates to our hardware roadmap. Boz, you want to give us a brief overview there?
Absolutely. So, and this is fairly unique, right? But this is just to highlight how dedicated both SAP and AWS are to this partnership. With the 4 terabyte, we really start to cover 34 terabyte scale out, and that's certainly not the end. And scale up 4 terabytes, we're starting to address the majority of the HANA needs that are out there. But customers are running live. They're starting to leverage HANA more and more, and the database size are growing. And we certainly acknowledge the need for solutions there as well. So we're very proud. We've done the early work to actually go far beyond 4 terabytes, and we've announced officially that we will be introducing 8 terabytes and 16 terabyte solutions in 2018. Basically, again, dramatically lifting the ceiling that was previously established with the 2 terabytes offering to support basically mission critical HANA single node solutions to scale out at a global scale. And what's unique about this offerings is that this is not private cloud. It's, in matter of fact, very much in the core of the AWS fabric, extending in an automated fashion, fully integrated in every other service that AWS is operating. Very much a unique capability to actually take a short-term commitment and run mission-critical environments at scale at a global level. So we're very proud of that. We're very excited about this development as well. Can't stress how dedicated we are at an engineering level to actually continue to serve customers in their ever-growing needs in deploying HANA solutions. So with that, Steve, do you want to talk a little bit about the capabilities of the platform as a technology themselves, right?
You bet. So, we take a holistic approach towards supporting mission-critical deployments, including SAP on the AWS platform. Now, we offer, as Boz mentioned earlier, globally available infrastructure with 16 regions across 44 availability zones. And this allows customers to deploy, very large landscapes, especially, conglomerates with a lot of subsidiaries, doing this at very rapid speed. We do a lot of work to take a lot of the heavy lifting out of these types of deployments. And one thing that we've done is what we call AWS Quick Starts. Now, these are automated reference deployments for specific workloads, key workloads on the AWS platform. We see both customers and partners alike using these for both non-production and production deployments. They're based on CloudFormation, which is basically a framework that allows us to orchestrate infrastructure as code, and also orchestrate not just the infrastructure, but also the installation of software, very complex software stacks. So if you think of things like distributed SharePoint farms or Exchange, or some DevOps type workloads as well, or you think of things around the SAP environments. We've done a lot of work around SAP to automate a lot of these installs as well. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But these really provide best practices for security and availability, both from us as well as the ISV solution that we're developing quick starts for. And it really removes architectural risk and speeds up deployment times and builds in consistency to the deployments themselves. And if we take a look at the AWS Quick Start for SAP HANA, this can be used to actually deploy all the necessary building blocks, both from the AWS perspective, including these X1 instances that we've talked about, following both SAP's recommendations for high performance and reliability, plus our recommendations for security and availability as well. And AWS Quick Starts, they are modular, they're customizable. So if you want, you can actually add additional functionality, layer that in on top of them, and modify it for your own implementations. We see our own professional services team using these in the field with great success with our customers. Now, typically, and I've lived through this, HANA setups and installations can cost tens of thousands of dollars for almost on-premise deployments, not to mention require long-term commitments. But AWS Quick Starts, these are free. You really pay only for the AWS resource consumption that you use, and they're completely on demand, right? So you spin this up, in less than an hour, you'll have a fully functioning HANA environment, and this is something you can use, you can shut down, and stop paying for when you'd like to. And a program that we've been working with SAP on called FAST actually builds on top of this, right? So it takes SAP DMO tooling plus AWS Quick Starts to deliver a highly automated migration scenario. And Boz is going to talk a little bit about that program and kind of what we've been able to do with some early customers.
Yeah, and we're very excited here. So when SAP and AWS kind of came together, I think it was October, November, the engineering teams was like, hey, that's fantastic that we can actually get to the sizes that AWS supports right now at the speed that it happens, and Quick Start is a real enabler to actually reducing the time and automating it in full. But what does it actually mean? What is an SAP customer able to do? And we tied that back to the DMO development team from SAP. And so what we're doing right now, what we're able of doing is take a production instance running on Oracle DB2 SQL, lift it to AWS, and convert it to HANA, be it a BW on HANA or a Suite on HANA, an S4 HANA installation, with a target duration of 48 hours for less than $1,000. And we've tested this with a number of customers leading up to Sapphire. As Steve already mentioned, we actually publicly announced the availability of the offering at Sapphire. But what you're seeing here is that actually one of the early adopting customers was able to migrate a 90-plus percentile SAP on Oracle solution, right? So this is not a small customer at all. Matter of fact, it's actually the most demanding SAP customers that find this solution interesting to try out. And they migrated their solution to Suite on HANA in 29 hours. And in the process, I mean, the exercise by itself sounds like rocket science. It's things that we've been able to do. There's always been a DMO tool. But the DMO tool was a full cycle process. So we actually now broke it out in 2 steps, allowing actually the converted data in a flat file format to be transferred to AWS, therefore allowing the 48-hour turnaround on this thing. But a customer can now take their productive solution, take away all the questions they may have around what does the solution look like on AWS, or what does my production instance look like on HANA. And they can actually experience it, if you will, right? For $1,000, less than 48 hours, why wouldn't you want to experience what an MRP run takes of your productive environment? Or why wouldn't you want to test what a month-end close would look like on a HANA solution, and whether or not truly there is efficiencies gained in the time it takes to process data or close amortization runs, etc., etc. So that said, we just released the documentation. It's out there in the open. We're also enabling and have enabled actually a fair bit of the partner ecosystem between SAP and AWS. And so if you're interested in that, we would love to connect with you and help you get going. And that compare that to what it would take in a traditional environment to actually making long-term investments in appliances or TDI configurations, sizing that upfront with no real sense of what the size of your production system will need to be. All those solutions or all those problems, all those barriers to entry, if you will, are things of the past. So then in conclusion, why do we believe SAP on AWS is the right answer? Partly it comes down to the flexibility you gain. We talked about the rapid provisioning, talk about the need to no longer spend a whole lot of time on sizing. You can grow or shrink as you go. And with the commitments only being on an hourly basis, or if you want to gain some additional discounts, you can make longer commitments. But AWS wouldn't require you to commit to more than an hour at a time. And then obviously the expertise is starting to grow. Second point is it's truly a technical superior solution. There is no solution out there that is as fully automated and instantly worldwide capacity available at your fingertips than the AWS thing. And that doesn't just apply to infrastructure as a service, that applies to the security and the certifications that we're running, that applies to the high availability and the resiliency that we actually build in our platform. And then lastly, the economics of it all. An hour of 2 terabytes of HANA would cost you less than $30.56, and which then leads to the fast proposition, right? You take 48 hours at that rate and you end up with $1,000. But even that, you can discount that by 72% to make a longer term commitment. At that cost, the infrastructure and all the hardware barriers that tend to be out there no longer are real barriers to actually at least get smart on what your SAP solution looks like in a transformation or a HANA database. So with that, there's two sources that I would like to draw your attention to should you want to know more. As always, you can write us direct and we will turn right around and answer any questions you may have. There's also a wide variety of excellent information on our webpage at the bottom of this page. And I think with that, we have some time left for questions and answers. Steve, you want to take that?